Just the other day, Bryce Miller, the Mariners' top pitching prospect and MLB Pipeline's 88th overall prospect, made his debut in Oakland against the Athletics, and it was a historic start. And yes, thank you, Captain Obvious. We know that it was against the Oakland A's. Las Vegas A's, and they're hardly a major league roster. But even with that, I really don't give a darn. Bryce is a stud, and you will see why. He would log his first career strikeout on the second batter he faced in the bottom of the first inning by way of his preferred method of strikeout, the challenge fastball.
What's the better feeling on the mound? Is it striking someone out with a challenge fastball or a breaking pitch that makes someone's knees buckle?
I'd rather throw it by them, give them the fastball, see if they can hit it. Throwing the sliders are fun, but I'd rather just rear back and let it eat and see what happens.
He would go on to strike out the next 4 batters he faced and would log 5 1/3 perfect innings to start the game, battling the rain a little bit. Finishing the day pitching 6 innings, giving up 2 hits, 1 run, no walks with 10 strikeouts. 8 of Bryce's strikeouts were on the fastball, 1 was on a slider, and the only changeup he threw all day was right here to Connor Capel. This changeup had 20 inches of horizontal break and froze Capel in his tracks even though it was right down the middle. And here was his strikeout on the slider.
And he does! Strikeout number 8, perfect through 5. One of the better debuts you ever want to see, Bryce Miller.
And we have to acknowledge not necessarily his K strut, but his 80 grade strikeout hop or twirl. As the headlines state, this was a historic start for Bryce Miller, as his 10 strikeouts are the most strikeouts out of any Mariner in their debut in franchise history. And outside of just this franchise, he was only the 30th player ever to log 10 strikeouts in their debut, which averages out to about 1 player per franchise has gotten 10 strikeouts in their debut. He also was just the 7th pitcher since 1961 to log at least 5 perfect innings in his first start. And just the 3rd player to log 10 plus strikeouts and no walks in their debut, joining Johnny Cueto from the 2008 Reds and Steven Strasburg from the 2010 Nationals. Quick reminder, if you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Apparently 91% of you this past month have not found that red button down to the right there. Now back to Bryce. His pitch arsenal from his debut consisted of 4 pitches. That 4-seam fastball he threw over 70% of the time. He threw his cutter about 20% of the time, the slider 8.5, and the changeup just 1 time. His 4-seam fastball averaged 95.3 miles per hour and got up to 97, with an elite spin rate that we'll get to in just a second. This pitch had a 38% whiff rate, and as I mentioned, 8 out of his 10 strikeouts were on the fastball. His cutter or gyro slider averaged at 86 miles an hour, his sweeping slider was just under 81, and that 1 changeup was at 87 miles an hour. Prior to his call-up, Miller was talked about as having potentially the best fastball in all of the minor leagues. It helps when you have the velocity 95 to 100, but his fastball is special for a different reason. As you can see here, he averaged 9.5 inches of drop on his fastball from when he releases the ball to home plate. Now, it's hard to understand when it's just the number by itself, but versus the average major league fastball, Bryce Miller's fastball has about 33% less drop than the average 4-seam fastball. And that is largely due to his elite spin rate on this pitch, averaging 2,576 rotations per minute, which is the highest spin rate on any 4-seam fastball out of any pitcher so far this year. And a guy who ESPN analyst Jeff Passan compared Bryce Miller to was the flamethrower from Atlanta, Spencer Strider, who also consistently has less drop on his fastball than the average pitcher. It's cool to get compared to a guy like this, but why does this matter? Well, here's a clip from a video talking about spin rate from the channel Simple Sabermetrics. Essentially, the higher spin rate a ball has, the more it will be working to fight gravity. The lower the spin rate is on a pitch, the more it will drop over time. And as you see, it can make a difference. If a batter is swinging at a fastball with an average spin rate, then he'll barrel it up. However, if the pitcher has a high spin rate, that batter will swing under the ball. If he has a really low spin rate, then he'll swing over the ball. What this means is that pitchers with a high spin rate will tend to have more success at the top of the zone, and pitchers with a low spin rate will have more success at the bottom of the zone. Bryce, with his high spin rate on the fastball, is better off living in the top of the zone. But this pitch can still be effective in other parts of the zone. For example, when it's a low fastball, the batter might think it'll be out of the zone down, or by using that low fastball, he can set him up for a slider later on in the game. When you have elite stuff, or when you can locate on the edges like Bryce can, you can kind of do whatever you want.
one thing that this past season kind of taught me was when I get to those 0-2, 1-2 counts, there's a point where it's like I can't just try to hit 100. I can't just chase the number and chase the velo, because 100 down the middle is not going to play as 97 at the top. So that's something I've been trying to focus on in bullpens this offseason and lives, is getting to the top and not velo chasing. But
more so dotting it up.
Yeah, I mean, if I can dot up at 100, do both at the same time, then we'll be happy.
I don't know who did that.
Pretty good way to start off your major league career. Unbelievable performance tonight by Bryce Miller. Calm, cool, as any young player I've ever seen, really, getting that opportunity to start his first major league game. That's kind of what we saw in spring training a little bit, but you never really know when the lights come on, and it was the same guy. And he got in an awesome rhythm groove tonight with his secondary pitches. Obviously, the fastball's got all kinds of life on it, and the swing and miss that can bring from other lineups. So can't ask for much more. That was some kind of shot at the arm tonight, and just the ease with which he was landing his secondary pitches. You know, the curveball, the slider, even threw a changeup in there. You got a called strike on. That's hard to do first time out. I knew the fastball was going to be good, and it's the life on the ball. He can ride the ball up in the zone. It's got carry at the bottom of the zone, and certainly they have a young team over there, but the stuff was outstanding.
Scott also mentioned that after his pregame bullpen, Bryce Miller was walking around with his glove on his head, talking to teammates, chatting it up. And unlike other players in the league or on the team that are super serious on start days, Bryce is pretty chill.
So we've heard that Logan Gilbert turns into his alter ego Walter when it's his starting day, which I'm sure you'll see at some point this year. When it's your day to start, are you the type who throws in earphones and you don't want to approach? Or do you try to keep it light like Luis Castillo on his start days?
No, yeah, I'm the same dude on my start days as I am on a day I'm not doing anything. Not very serious on the mound, so I'm definitely not too serious leading up to the games. I like to keep it loose and like to talk to everybody and do everything like a normal day.
This is how the Mariners' starting rotation now lines up, with Luis Castillo at the front, Marco Gonzalez next, Bryce Miller third, and then Logan Gilbert and George Kirby to finish it up. Bryce is taking Chris Flexen's spot in the rotation and absolutely has that spot locked down. Even without Robbie Ray, this rotation could be one of the best in the league. Bryce Miller's second career start will be coming this Sunday in Seattle against the Houston Astros. This will be his first real test in the major leagues, and one that he's been looking forward to, having grown up in southern Texas.
Being from South Texas, closest team to me is Houston, so I've been watching Houston since I was little. Been watching Bregman and Altuve for a while now, so really that whole Houston lineup I'll be excited to throw to.
So make sure to tune in this weekend as the Mariners take on the Astros in Seattle in a rematch of last year's ALDS series. And as I mentioned, Bryce will be on the bump on Sunday, and tonight the Mariners will be wearing for the first time on field their Seattle City Connect uniforms. Thank you for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe for more baseball content throughout the season. And go M's!
All right, guys, goodbyes only. Don't forget it.